stupid.
That's sorry.
That's
What
stupid.
happened?
I messed up my knee. Like
I'm sorry,
2 weeks
man.
ago.
Oh well, that is what it is, I suppose. Do we have to talk about Aaron Rodgers? I hate that man.
I mean, we don't have to. I just threw it on the list.
We can talk about how sick and tired I am of him. I don't know what I'm following this week. There's so much. There's so much that I'm following.
Whoops.
Man.
Oh, straight to jail. I had to be angry about something. I'm always angry about something.
I'm gonna be angry about something.
What was I angry about? Oh, also, that might have been one of my favorite things. The updated Dickinson meter. The barely Dickinson, fairly Dickinson, and extremely Dickinson. When they were up like 6 on it for the Atlantic, I definitely got my hopes up. I was like, yes.
Yes. Extremely.
but spelled the proper way, Josh.
Oh, the proper way. It's okay. That's hilarious. Oh man.
Oh. I love that the Sickos committee beveled that whiteboard. My favorite comment was the first one that was from Jurassic Park, that it was like, you were so busy figuring out if you could that you didn't think about whether you should, like,
Yep.
whether you should or not. So good. Well, I'll find something to be angry about.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you.
That does remind me, I need to see if I've got bookmarks for like World Baseball Classic numbers. Yeah, I don't have to look it up.
Gosh,
the bevel
am
bracket is.
I not angry at people this week?
I mean, do you even have a thought on FAU's final attempted dunk?
I mean, it was stupid, but I mean,
angry about it.
his coach was like immediately like, that was stupid. I'm sorry. So like, I don't know. They weren't even celebrating how a team I feel like normally would in the locker room, and I bet it's because he chewed them out, like literally right before that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know. You don't have to go to jail. Yeah, you got like your whole like, I don't know, like you got your whole celebration kind of like lost a little bit by being an idiot at the end. Like, I don't know. You already got your punishment, in my opinion, but it was also like somewhat of a punishment for a team like Florida Atlantic to have to play Fairleigh Dickinson, where in any other scenario, we're all fans of Florida Atlantic, literally playing in only their 3rd NCAA tournament game ever. They'd never even won a game before this season. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'll get angry about something. I'll add it. We can start whenever you guys are good.
Yeah, I'm good.
There's always something to be angry about.
All right.
Welcome to the podcast where we're always angry, and it's your job to guess why.
That's right. Well, on that note, welcome to the 5th and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I'm joined, as always, by my good friends Josh and Johnny. We're back for episode 103. Gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. It's good to see you. Josh, on a scale 1 to 10, how busted is that bracket?
Let's see here. Oh, it's on fire.
Oh.
And it's on fire.
Okay. That's fair. Jonny, what about you?
I'm very calm about it.
A slight recovery in the second round after being torn to shreds early on. So slight recovery. A hard time. I'll have a hard time recovering from that Memphis loss. I knew it was a long shot, but it's fun. You got to go for it.
Yeah. I feel like my bracket's a mix of it did really well early on, but it's like busted long term, but it hasn't quite gotten there. Like, this is what I mean. We have more than 50 people in our 5th and goal bracket group, and I'm currently number 1. But I had Kansas in my championship game, so I don't have a ton of points. If Alabama wins out, then maybe I have a chance to win, but I also need I need Gonzaga to beat UCLA. I still need some very specific things to happen. And I had Marquette in my Final Four, and that blew up in my face. We'll get into all that. But so Josh on fire, Jonny kind of in between. I mean, technically my bracket's in the 99.2 percentile, which is pretty good. But it's not going to stay there for that long. So so I guess what I'm trying to say is I, in theory, have the better bracket between you guys. But you also both
It's all about UCLA.
Yeah, it's all about UCLA. So
it's all about UCLA.
Yeah. Well, good. I know we didn't talk about our weeks, but I assume our weeks looked... Well, actually, that's not true, Josh. I was about to say our weeks look collectively just like staring blankly at the TV for 4 straight days, which was true of Jonny and I, but not quite true of you because you got to do some cool traveling.
I went down to Austin for South by Southwest, and there was nary a TV to be found. Those guitar playing hippies down there don't even know what sports are.
Boo.
A mixture. This is the weirdest mixture of I listen to so many bands whose Spotify follower count is under 100. So the correct amount.
Yes.
Just these guys who are
as we mentioned before, Josh loves when musicians are in poverty.
If you are verified on Spotify, you have moved out of my listening realm. So just guys like Nathan Walton and The Remedy, how you gonna not like that type of band? And then the next day, you watched a presentation about cybersecurity presented by the CIA, who then recruited people. It's just it was the weirdest mixture of things. Austin's a fun, weird city. Go down there, not now. I think they're still recovering. I don't think they want visitors, but in a few months they'll recover. But no, I'm still catching up on all of my basketball. I was watching some random bands from Greece play their hearts out when the big upset happens.
Nice. Well, yes, the big upset did happen. And look, it's always kind of risky business being a sports media person because, look, if we're talking about I'll have some Major League Baseball predictions in the next couple weeks, and largely no one really is going to care too much because unless you're a diehard baseball fan, it's just kind of whatever. But every person is filling out a bracket. And so whether they realize it or not, everyone's got some kind of opinion about it. So it's kind of risky us sitting here trying to project our thoughts here's what's going to happen and having no idea. I will say, and I want to off the bat because we're about to be really wrong probably for what we predicted in the next 10 minutes. We warned you about Purdue. We really did. We told you they're not going to make the Final Four. We kind of gave you reasons why. We said you have to have guards, you have to have free throws. And Purdue really struggled in that area. And they become the unfortunate second 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed. But guys, it wasn't just a 16 seed. It was a 16 seed that A, had to win the play-in game in Dayton a couple days before, and B, a team that got second in their own conference tournament. We threw the NCAA straight into jail a couple weeks ago for that dumb transition rule, where the Merrimack Warriors, who won both the regular season and the conference tournament in the Northeast, probably should have been there because, again, stupid rule, but good for Fairleigh Dickinson. It got them into the tournament, and they pulled off what
At least
could really be considered as the biggest upset in college basketball history.
Yeah, Aaron, it's exactly what we said. We warned everybody. I mean, I don't know about everybody else. One, I don't care if you had them winning the championship. If you were cheering against Fairleigh Dickinson in that scenario, you're wrong, straight to jail.
Yeah.
You throw your bracket away for the sake of everyone's joy. at that point. And honestly, that's how I usually am when it comes to these things. Once we actually get into the tournament, as soon as like the underdog starts winning, I'm like, screw the bracket. I want Princeton to win. I want Fairleigh Dickinson to win this game. But I mean, it really didn't hurt me. I had them losing in the next round anyway. So for me, it probably hurt my bracket less than just about anybody else's. We knew their point guard play was incredibly inconsistent. They were really solid in their run through the Big Ten tournament. But Penn State showed you the method to beat them towards the end of that game when they nearly came all the way back from behind and won in the last 4 minutes when they were down like 15. And that was force Purdue's young guards to handle the ball and break the press. I don't know what it is about this tournament this year, but teams are really struggling to break a full court press. And Fairleigh Dickinson swarmed Zach Edey. He forced him to kick it. These guys are wide open, and they're just shanking these shots. They are bricking them all over the place. He needed someone to step up, anyone to step up, and could not. They just couldn't do it. All hats off to Fairleigh Dickinson. Their coach called their shot.
Oh man,
I love that dude. I hope he's fishing right now. If you saw his post-game press conference, I hope he's already out there fishing in a river somewhere. So, yeah. I mean, I was thrilled to watch that. That was awesome. And they gave up a great fight against Florida Atlantic, too. That was a phenomenal game to watch.
Yeah, they did. Well, Jonny, your recap of that game is spot on. The game plan for FDU was to give Purdue wide open threes. It wasn't just like happenstance based on how they were guarding. I mean, it kind of was. But that was the game plan. They basically just shrugged their shoulders and said, Purdue, hit some threes. And Purdue just refused to hit threes, just absolutely said, no, no, thank you. We'll go 2 for 22 or whatever they went. I mean, oh my gosh. So look, rough streak for Purdue. It wasn't just this tournament. They lost to North Texas 2 years ago. They were a victim of the St. Peter's Peacocks last year. So this is now 3 seasons in a row that Purdue has had an utter meltdown to a double-digit seed. Can't wait to see how they lose to a 17 seed next year. It's going to be awesome.
Well, Aaron, we got to fill in the gaps. They've almost lost to all 16 seeds in the tournament.
True.
I don't want them to lose to a 17 seed. I think they still have to lose to like a 5 seed. They still have to lose to like a 7 and a 9.
They got a complete upset bingo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would like bingo complete, please. That is what I want.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of the Northeast real quick, moment of silence, pour one out for the St. Francis Brooklyn Terriers. They announced today that they are cutting their athletic program. They are one of the smallest Division I programs, and it's something to do with like their whole campus is relocating. So they're just like the university as a whole is in a big transition apparently. So, but sad for the Terriers. We love all programs here other than, I don't know. Is there any team we absolutely hate? I mean, we're Buckeye fans, so Michigan, but that goes without saying. But like generally, we try to, we're welcoming of all athletic programs, and sad to see them go.
That's just my one team. I'm like, anyways, never win again.
Yeah, pouring out for them. But anyways, not to get us sidetracked, because obviously that was not the only upset. We talked about FDU; they are eliminated, but there is a double-digit seed that is in the Sweet 16, and that is the Ivy League's Princeton Tigers. Josh, have you seen the TikToks of these, of people like highlighting Princeton and how they're all like accountants and they're just, taking people out. Obviously they took out the 2-seed Arizona and then Missouri to get to the Sweet 16.
What is so funny, and this is why I need to stay on social media forever, because it's so good for me. It's so healthy for me.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
I went off it for just in between this, between Ash Wednesday and Easter, and then I had to get back on because everything exploded. My goodness, Princeton is I from a perspective of, I know that they're like they're seminaries associated with the Presbyterian Church. I've played basketball with Presbys. They don't play basketball, so it's so funny. And I hope the one Presby who I know listens every now and then is listening now. Come at me. It is so funny that this group of nerds is playing better basketball than like the basketball. It reminds me of like, this has to be the equivalent. This is so dark, but like the equivalent. So edit it out if you need to. It feels like the Hunger Games where like District 12 was like you're not going to be able to beat the
right.
The District 2. It's so funny. And I am here for all of this. I want only upsets next year. They said, or not they said, we know. Last year, I think it took 28 games for every bracket to be busted. This year, it only took 25 games. So we are getting closer to total chaos.
I mean, that's insane because there were 20, and this is, I think, probably ESPN, but there were over 20 million brackets.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts. That's insane.
Everybody's sending in.
Well, there was a moment on, was it Saturday night, that we were like, when Houston's losing badly in their game, and you're starting to think, oh my gosh. And Kansas had already lost. Obviously, Purdue had already lost. And you're starting to think, oh my goodness, we're going to get to Alabama, and they're going to be the only 1 seed left. And we're in the round of 32. Now, Houston turned it around and ended up beating Auburn. But there was that brief moment of like, good God, they're all going to be gone. They are all getting picked off like crazy. I mean, it wasn't just the 1 seeds. We lost Marquette to Michigan State, called that one. So I will take credit for that. But Arizona to aforementioned Princeton, nobody had that. Like 2 seeds getting taken out as well. You had, I know 6-3 is kind of a loose upset, but you even had Creighton moving on yesterday, beating Baylor. That craziness. The East is in complete and utter shambles. That is a great region right now. I love that one. Just phenomenal.
And for those that may
outstanding.
For those that may not have the bracket right in front of them, the East is the 9-seeded Florida Atlantic Owls, the 4-seeded Tennessee Volunteers. That's a Sweet 16 matchup, as is the 3-seeded Kansas State Wildcats and the 7-seeded Michigan State Spartans. Johnny, along the lines of Creighton, I will say one of the other things I'm gonna take credit for, because I did have Marquette in my Final Four, but I did say that the Big East would have a good tournament. And outside of Marquette, they really have. I mean, Creighton, I just mentioned, there's a 6 seed. UConn is there as a 4 seed. Xavier is in the Sweet 16 as a 3 seed. And considering that the Big Ten has 1 team left with Michigan State, the ACC has 1 team left with Miami. Now, the Big 12 is the Big 12, and the SEC is having a really, really good tournament. But that's impressive from the Big East. And yeah, I did have Marquette in my Final Four, so a little bit of egg on my face there. But the general concept of the Big East being good in this tournament has, at least to this point, played itself out. Now, that being said, I don't have any of those teams advancing past this point, but we'll see. I've been wrong about plenty of things. I'll just mention off the top, since I've got the bracket here, the other Sweet 16 matchups that are happening. This is, of course, happening Thursday, Friday. Then we get the Elite Eight games on Saturday and Sunday. In the South, Alabama and San Diego State. And then we get 6-seeded Creighton versus 15-seed Princeton. So either Creighton or Princeton's going to be in the Elite Eight. So, look, maybe Creighton will be there, although I'm certainly not counting out the Tigers after what we've seen. I talked about the East matchups in the Midwest. Houston, Miami, that's very intriguing, as is Xavier, Texas. It does look like we could be destined for that Texas-Houston matchup that I know Josh and I both have on our brackets. And then finally in the West, the 8-seeded Arkansas, except it's not Arkansas, it's Arkansas, and Kansas is now doubly called Kansas because they lost in both their bowl game matchup against Arkansas, and they, of course, got upset in the round of 32. So Arkansas, UConn, and then Gonzaga, UCLA. How about that rematch from a couple years ago? So there's your Sweet 16 matchups. Johnny, is there any of those that you're most excited to watch?
I mean, Gonzaga, UCLA, you're going to hear a ton about that this week. I figured that was what was the matchup was going to be. As someone who I picked that matchup to happen, but I was okay to sacrifice the one game win for probably the good of UCLA and have TCU win that game. So I was cheering for the Horned Frogs in that one. That game will be fantastic. That Arkansas game, that's some grown man basketball. They're going to beat the heck out of each other in that game. If you watch that Kansas-Arkansas game, that was so good. There was no point in that game that I really thought Arkansas was actually going to win until they took the lead. Kansas was really up about 10 points most of the way, and Arkansas just would not go away and just kept punishing them underneath. And I mean, that was crazy. And then talk about another physical team, that Tennessee team. I mean, poor Filikowski on Duke. That dude got whacked in the face like 4 or 5 times, bleeding. He really fought hard, but that Tennessee team was awesome. But I'm really looking forward, Aaron, to that Kansas State-Michigan State game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be a fun, really good game. I really like Jerome Tang, the coach at the State in his first year. He's done a March job. Yeah. And then Houston, Miami. I actually had that match picked, and this is where I had Houston's season ending, losing to Miami. If Miami plays like they did against Indiana, I think that is exactly what happens. But we don't know which version of Miami we're going to get. Are we going to get the version of Miami that just beat Indiana, or are we going to get the version of Miami that was really fortunate to escape Drake, who just ran out of steam at the end of that game? So that's the tricky part of the tournament. Everybody always starts like, well, this is how they looked in the first game, so this is probably what will happen in the next one. And then the teams just play completely different in the next one. Wong on Miami was just awful in the first game. And then he was fantastic against Indiana. One of the main reasons they won. Tennessee probably should have lost to Louisiana. They played so poorly. Then they could not miss, and their defense was just outstanding against Duke. That was my lock of the weekend too. So you just don't know. You don't know with these teams game to game. That's the fun of it too. It's not even once they get to the tournament. You don't even know day to day which version of these teams is going to show up. Houston looked atrocious in their first game. I mean, if Northern Kentucky could have hit a 3, there would have been 2 16 seeds that made it through in the first round.
If you guys had to repick your champion, and just as a reminder for our audience, Josh and Johnny, but you guys both have UCLA. I've got Alabama. Mm-hmm. If you were given the chance to do that part of your bracket over again, would you still pick UCLA? Would you pick a different team? I've got Alabama. I'm sticking with it, partially because the South is just so open. I mean, the reality is they're in the Sweet 16, and they're playing a 5, and they're going to play either a 6 or a 15. No disrespect to, obviously, Creighton and Princeton. They've deserved to get to the point where they are now. But then they're also connected to the East, which has a 3, 4, 7, and 9. So at least just on paper, the path for Alabama looks good. And they've also just played. I mean, they just blasted both the teams they faced. It took a little bit longer in their second game, their round of 32 game. But I'm sticking with Alabama, but I'm curious what you guys think.
I'm sticking with UCLA. I am trying to look and see who's coming out of the West. Yeah. I am totally happy with that. I'm also just thrilled that I picked Creighton to go as far as they did. That's just a personal. I'm happy with that.
Nice.
Josh, did you have them in your Elite Eight too?
You have them in my Elite Eight. I have Alabama, Creighton.
Yes, we nailed that.
Yeah. So, ORU didn't go as far as I wanted to, but no, I'm actually relatively satisfied with mine. I'm like 50%, and normally I'm like at 30. So, for making this thing in 5 minutes, I'm sticking.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sticking with the Pen of Destiny.
Yeah.
I need to let this go. I ranted on it last week that Alabama was just gift wrapped a trip to the Final Four, and it's completely playing out. And then look who their matchup is hypothetically in the semifinal. Like Aaron, you mentioned, like they have San Diego State and then they have Creighton. And don't get me wrong, like San Diego State defensively might give Alabama fits in this game, especially because they have time to prep for it.
Yeah.
But San Diego State doesn't have the firepower offensively probably to pull the upset off against Alabama. Now, then you get Creighton, who's probably the exact opposite. They have the firepower to knock off Alabama. I don't know if they have the consistency defensively to do so. But then they're facing, at worst, 3-seed Kansas State in the semifinal. Meanwhile, on the other side, you still have Houston alive, you have Texas alive, you have UConn, you have Gonzaga, you have UCLA, all beating the heck out of each other. I didn't mention Miami, Xavier, and Arkansas. Yeah. Like, they're almost all, no offense, but they're almost all better than the rest on the left side, if you will, of the bracket. So that's a little frustrating. That makes me want to repick and pick Alabama. That was honestly my thought was they're probably going to win this from the beginning, but my heart won't allow it. I'll stick with UCLA. Lean Texas also. I think Texas has been absolutely outstanding so far in this tournament. I think they'll take care of Xavier.
I've got Texas in my Final Four, so that might be the only saving grace I've got left if I'm trying to stay ahead of some of these people that have better long-term points than I do in my bracket.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I will say about Alabama, you're right about San Diego State. The two teams in my mind that are just playing incredible defense or have to this point, San Diego State and Tennessee. It's not an exclusive list, but those are the two that jump to mind. And you're right about the ability for San Diego State to spend a few days looking at Alabama. They've got the size to match up with Brandon Miller,
Absolutely.
but Brandon Miller can also just take a step back and shoot over the defense. And that's where he's so good. So I'm curious to see how San Diego State guards him specifically, because you're talking about the freshman of the year, I think nationally. You're talking about probably a top 10 pick, maybe top 5. We'll see. I'm intrigued by the X's and O's of a team like San Diego State going up against Alabama, the overall number 1 seed. All right. Well, that's a good recap of March Madness, I think. Good luck to you out there. Look, if you want, ESPN's doing like a re-bracket thing. So if your bracket is like Josh's and actively on fire, you're welcome to repick. My wife and I are doing a competition against each other where we repick every round. And I think she's actually beating me in that. So I've got some work to do there. But she did say she wanted a shout out, and I'm giving it to her right now. She did call the Princeton, Arizona upset. So well done, Danielle. Pat yourself on the back for that one. Pretty amazing upset there. Yeah. We'll talk about more.
But it is called Kensaw, though, Aaron.
It is called Kensaw. Yes, absolutely. Because what was it, the Liberty Bell that both those teams played in last year?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Kensaw. Twice. Now, like if you're Kensaw, you have to beat Arkansas twice now just to get it back to the way you thought the state was pronounced. It's not. It's Kensaw. All right. Gentlemen, time to move over to some NFL free agency real quick. Not going to spend a ton of time here, but it's worth noting because there were some big names. And as much as we hate to talk about it, and Jonny is about to throw a strike if we talk about this man for any longer than 30 seconds, so we'll keep it brief. But Aaron Rodgers has been orchestrating all of these things behind the scenes. He's telling the Jets, hey, guys, you should sign a couple of my favorite wide receivers. And what was it, Valdez-Scantling and Randall Cobb? And so the Jets are like, oh, we want Aaron Rodgers. We'll do it. And they did it. And I thought the funniest thing was going to be if Aaron Rodgers went somewhere else. That was going to be hysterical. But no, it does sound like Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the paperwork's official yet, but Aaron Rodgers is headed to the Jets. And look,
Aaron, you know why?
Why is that?
You know why?
Are you sure? Are you actually sure though that he's going to?
That's why I specifically said the paperwork is not been finalized. But tell us, Josh.
This is why. He has too much green in his house. He cannot switch to another color. He has to stay within a green team.
Yep. That's probably the closest green because Seattle's is too bright.
It's too bright.
And Philly's got their quarterback. They don't need Aaron Rodgers.
You're fine. He could have tried, but no. It's the next closest shade of green. He's too lazy to change anything out in his house. This is airtight.
Makes sense. That's all you need to know. It was 3 hours of darkness, and he was just thinking about, what is my house decorated like right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Clarity.
Again, we don't need to break it down a ton because I know everyone and their mother is talking about this on your national sports radio syndicate or whatever. But Jonny, does this make the Jets a playoff team next year?
Nope. Not even close.
Not
even close.
This is what he needed.
Nope.
Wow.
This is what they needed.
8-9, 9-8.
Okay.
Third in the division.
No, he's going to become clutch again. He's going to.
And that's.
He's going to get that fresh New Jersey air, and he's going to remember what it's like to be alive.
Third in the division's being generous too. They could easily be last if Bill Belichick gets Mac Jones any kind of help on offense and a real coordinator.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so there was our Aaron Rodgers segment. We did it, guys. We checked it off the list. Here's the segment that I want to talk about for the NFL because, look, the Detroit Lions, they're getting some love. They're having a really good offseason, and our Super Bowl, which is called the NFL Draft, hasn't even happened yet. We have 2 first-round picks in the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions, within the last week, have signed Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, and last night, from Philadelphia in free agency, a 1-year, $8 million deal for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who is a key piece of that Philadelphia defense. These are all secondary players. The Lions were horrendous on defense, and especially in the secondary. The Lions are winning free agency right now. They also picked up David Montgomery. I was a little bit heartbroken because it was not Jamal Williams, so that's sad. Jamal Williams goes to the New Orleans Saints. But I'm telling you right now, Jonny, you said the Jets are not making the playoffs. I'm calling it right now, and I'm usually a pessimistic fan. The Lions are not only going to make the playoffs, the Lions are winning the division next year. And I'm certainly not going to be the only person to sit here and say that. But I'm willing to sit here on March 20th and say the Lions are winning the division. It's happening. So,
honestly, Aaron, if they don't make the playoffs at this point, I will say it is a disappointment.
Yes.
After how close they were last year, how weak the NFC is, the improvements that they've made, and because a lot of their talent is young, and especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves the division,
right?
What's the excuse? Like, what's the excuse to not at least make a wild card?
Yeah. The excuse, I guess, is that Minnesota had a really good year, but if anything, Minnesota's losing pieces, right? I'm sure
finish second, get in the wild card.
Yep.
Get in the wild card. Honestly, at this point, I think that's the expectation, the amount that I've heard about Detroit. But I hope the Lions can do it.
I do too. I mean, when's the last time you heard the Detroit Lions and playoff expectations used in the same sentence? Other than last year, where you could say the Detroit Lions ruined the Green Bay's Packers playoff hopes. That's the last, in theory, the last game that Aaron Rodgers played in a Packers uniform. He sat and watched as the Detroit Lions came into Lambeau and beat him and knocked him out of the postseason. So as a Lions fan, that feels pretty good. So anyways, before we move off of NFL free agency, I don't want to be the only person talking about my team. Jonny, Joe Burrow needed protection, and the Cincinnati Bengals took a big swing, and I think it's going to be a home run.
I'm thrilled. They got Orlando Brown Jr. They got him. So now you have a premier young starting left tackle to protect Joe Burrow. 2, they stole him from Kansas City.
Yep.
So it's additional benefit if you are the Bengals here. Now, what do the Bengals have to do to give that up? This is a hard cap in the NFL, so let's be real about that. Why could the Lions load up right now? Because they're not paying Jared Goff a fortune, and their team is so young and so many draft picks that they can go out and spend money to get free agents. Exactly what they should be doing. It's perfect. The Bengals, full well knowing Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, those guys' contracts are coming up, they had to let go of both of their safeties. So Von Bell, Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates was definitely gone. Von Bell was kind of more iffy. But they had to let those guys go just because they're getting north or around the age of 30. Got to let those safeties go. And you ensured the protection of Joe Burrow. Now, the offensive line's not perfect. Sounds like Jonah Williams wants to trade now. I say ship him out. Maybe they can even get a second or third round pick for him. Teams are desperate for left tackles. Jonah Williams is not a terrible left tackle. He's just kind of average. If not below average. And on a line that often was injured or had other holes in it, you needed somebody who could be a linchpin, a cornerstone of that offensive line. And so I'm thrilled to get Orlando Brown. The Bengals have ensured depth at that position as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they still drafted another guy. So, I mean, they've been drafting as well, getting Daxton Hill for that safety position last year out of Michigan. So he'll be starting. And then they took Nick Scott. They signed him. 3-year, $12 million deal, much cheaper than Von Bell or Jesse Bates. He was the starting safety for the Rams. He'll be on the Bengals now. I'm sure the Bengals will be drafting a lot in the secondary. The Bengals were, surprising to me, also able to hang on to Jermaine Pratt, excellent linebacker, to a relatively inexpensive deal. So overall, very happy with the Bengals. We were kind of looking around like, what's happening? We're losing all of these players and they're not signing anyone. They're definitely not done yet. Samaje Perine, their running back, that is also gone. And who am I forgetting? They lost. Who else did they lose? Oh, and Hayden Hurst is gone as well. Carolina Panthers and Atlanta Falcons came and just stole a bunch of players from the Bengals. So that's okay. That's the price of doing business. And if that ensures Joe Burrow's not getting killed in the pocket, I'm more than okay with the trade-off. But I think that's the new standard for these elite teams in the NFL. Protect your quarterback, get him elite weapons. Well, and obviously pay your young quarterback, and then draft defense. Defense, you can deal with more inexperience because you need them to be fast, playing hard. And I think unless you are a premier pass rusher or an elite corner, maybe you pay. But other than that, it's just going to be heavy drafting when it comes to the defense for teams like the Bengals, Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia, you name it.
Yeah. I mean, even the Lions, who I mentioned those names that they signed in free agency, the core of the defense is the guys they drafted just last year. It's Aiden Hutchinson, it's James Houston, it's Malcolm Rodriguez. And then if you go back a couple of years, it's Jeff Okudah. That's kind of the core of the defense, as much as they're bringing in. Jonny, you're right. What I think was Bates, I think he got the contract that was the most ever for a safety. Like, there's no way the Bengals were going to pay that. And we knew that for years.
Yeah, it was like third or something. Yeah, it was way up there. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great for him. Bengals can't pay a safety that. It's just not realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, there's some NFL news. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to the draft. We're just less than a month away.
What the Steelers did in the offseason.
Well, Josh, tell us.
They didn't do anything. Anyway, you were saying.
No, it's because they're good. They got
waiting for the draft, baby.
Yeah, they got Kenny Pickett. They're rolling with Kenny.
We need.
Kenny
what do we got to make in the offseason? We're fine. We're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to protect them or anything. That's fine.
It's fine.
Just pull the Pouncey brothers out of retirement. I'm sure it's sure to
Joe
be fine.
got so many concussions, tore his ACL, and he took him to a Super Bowl. So
yeah,
what do we got to worry about? We're fine. He's from Pittsburgh. They're tough.
Yeah, that's right. Who needs a quarterback when you can run the ball, right? Am I right?
Am I right?
All right. All right. Yes, NFL draft less than a month away. We'll have more mock drafts as we get closer and closer. It'll be the time where I actually figure out what's going on in the draft, and I'll put my own mock draft out and get crushed by Jonny for the third year in a row. All right. I'm not salty about that, but I am salty about this next thing. It's time for Straight to Jail. All right, gentlemen, the World Baseball Classic is wrapping up. I am happy to say that Team USA
such a fun time.
has made the championship game. They just destroyed Cuba in the semifinals last night as we're recording. A big night for Team USA. Look, it's been awesome, okay? The World Baseball Classic has been awesome. It's been so good. Love to see the USA with a loaded roster this year, and they're a game away. The championship's on Tuesday, so once this episode comes out, you'll already know if they won or lost, so I'm not going to go into detail about their matchup. It'll be against either Japan or Mexico. Mexico already beat them in pool play. Of course, Japan led by Shohei Ohtani. The World Baseball Classic has been awesome. But there was a thing that happened with, I believe it's Puerto Rico, where Puerto Rico wins this huge game, a winner-take-all pool play game over the Dominican Republic. And Edwin Diaz, who is one of the best closers in Major League Baseball, plays for the New York Mets. If that name doesn't sound familiar, he's the guy that runs out to the trumpet song. And that's kind of how that whole thing got started. If you're on TikTok, you now probably know what I'm talking about. In the celebration of that victory, not even during the game itself, during that celebration, Edwin Diaz blows out his knee and is probably done for the season. That's obviously a huge bummer because the Mets have high expectations. They are spending like no other baseball team has spent in a long time. Their owner is fine shelling out basically $500 million for the roster this year. And Edwin Diaz is a big part of that. But he's done. So obviously you're going to have some upset Mets fans saying, why is Diaz playing in this exhibition game? I get it if you're a Mets fan. You're very tunnel vision towards your team. I'll let it slide. However, there were a couple, and I'm not even going to mention their names because they're not worth mentioning, but there were a couple of national media folks out there, if you want to call them that, that were basically saying, who cares about this glorified exhibition game? Well, sir, I'll tell you who cares. Do you want to know who cares? 61% of the people in Puerto Rico had their televisions on for their game against the Dominican Republic. 61%. That is a ton. Japan is next level when it comes to baseball. They are next level. Where did my article go? Hang on.
I mean, even if you guys are just looking at just any hater, go look at the atmosphere at any of these games. Look at the atmosphere. Like, there's tons of videos out there on just people just taking little phone videos of Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, just the in-stadium atmosphere. Oh my gosh, it is electric.
Aaron, were you going to mention the Japanese fans passing the ball around?
I need to. Yes, I will mention that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not in jail for them. Jail free card.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So jail. Yes.
All of
Obviously, where I'm going with this is straight to jail. Those people, because here's the article. I found it. What I was looking for. Josh, you're right. The interesting thing is the environment. They're playing this in Miami. What is Miami known for in Major League Baseball? Having no one there. Now, obviously, being that close to the Caribbean, you're going to have more of their fans there. So that alone is going to impact the environment. But that place has been hopping. Apparently, some of the players on Team USA in their quarterfinal matchup said that stadium was louder than a World Series game. And that kind of sets the table. Guys, Japan played Korea on March 10th. Obviously, baseball huge in Japan. It registered a 44.4 rating. That is massive. It's the most watched game in the history of the World Baseball Classic in any country. Now, the World Baseball Classic hasn't been around a long time, so that's not a great reference. But what a great reference is the Tokyo Olympics, because that's kind of a big sporting event. That's kind of a big deal. That game outrated every single event of all 1,000 events that were played in the Tokyo Olympics. This one was watched more than any of that. Japan's first 4 round games averaged a 42.3 rating. They had an exhibition game before the World Baseball Classic even started that tens of millions of fans watched. And they're super into it. They're also great. Shohei Ohtani is just insane. He's pitching 102 and smashing home runs. And because the people of Japan are so polite and it's such a respectful culture, look, you've seen it, right? Major League Baseball, some guy in his mid-30s catches a ball and rips it out of the hand of some little kid and is parading it around guys, I got a home run ball. My lifelong dream fulfilled. You know what they did in Japan? Someone caught the ball and they passed the ball around the stand so everyone could take a picture of it. And then they sent the ball back to the fan that caught it. That's incredible. It's unbelievable.
Never here.
Never here.
No.
Never.
Are you kidding?
No.
Never.
Yeah.
The Japanese are amazing.
Good for the Japanese fans. Again, as I mentioned, they're 1 win away from the championship as well. I could go a lot into this because I love the World Baseball Classic. I've had it pulled up next to all the March Madness games this week. Bottom line, straight to jail, those that are saying this is just a glorified exhibition. Look at some of the interviews from these players. They're saying that winning, and this is partially true for Team USA as well, even though Major League Baseball is in our backyard. A lot of these players are saying this World Baseball Classic is, number one, more important to me than winning a World Series. And you're also hearing a lot of players saying this is the most fun I've ever had playing baseball. And most of these players have been playing baseball their whole life. So that's awesome. And I love to hear that. I'm glad to know that players are having a ton of fun. So straight to jail, those that are killing the World Baseball Classic, it's awesome. It's the World Cup for baseball. It's not as popular because it hasn't been around for as long, but some of these countries are so into baseball, it's only going to keep growing, and it's been growing at an insane rate. Also, get out of jail free card to our American hero, Trey Turner. The United States was down by 2 in the 8th inning against Venezuela. Trey Turner comes up to the plate, bases loaded, grand slam, no doubt about it. Sends the U.S. to the semifinals. He hits 2 more home runs in the semifinals. I'll end with this. As a Reds fan, I'm not a huge Cardinals guy, right? Kind of built-in rivalry in the division. But I got to hand it to the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Adam Wainwright. I think I'm missing one other player that's made a big impact for Team USA. So thank you, Cardinals players, just for this. Come April, I'll be rooting against you once again. But, it's kind of nice to be rooting for these guys, and they're having a heck of a tournament. And I'm hoping that Team USA can bring their 2nd World Baseball Classic title in a row home on Tuesday. So that's a very long straight to jail. So thanks for letting me rant on that. But there's your World Baseball Classic breakdown. Straight to jail, those who are hating on it.
Aaron, what I'm hearing is that MLB expansion that they keep talking about, why not put a team in Puerto Rico? Why not put a team in the Dominican Republic or in Cuba? Hey, they're in the same time zone. That's not that far away.
Well,
Why
I can
not?
tell you Cuba's not
We
going
do
to
it
work
with-
out, but
Well, yeah, I get the political reasons for that, but why not the Dominican?
Yeah.
Why not Puerto Rico? Why not Mexico? Hey, like we're in the same time zone. That's a quicker flight for some of these teams than it is to go across the country. Well, we do
Yeah.
it with Canada all the time. Why can't we do it in the Caribbean with these other countries? I think it might provide a spark that is desperately needed in the domestic game.
Well, and Major League Baseball teams have essentially caught on to that, and they all have Dominican leagues like of their own, like their own training facilities, where it's kind of like their minor league team in the Dominican. So to a certain extent, yes, they've caught on to that for sure.
We need to have a real professional team down there. Let's do it.
Sounds good. By the way, I missed a comment on YouTube just now. Quick disclaimer: we do stream this podcast every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Jackson popped in and just said, "Great stuff, guys." So Jackson, thanks for that. Appreciate it. All right, Johnny, what's not great stuff? Who's going to jail?
Okay. Aaron Rodgers is going to jail. Or if he wants to call it a darkness retreat, that's fine too. He can be in solitary confinement. I'm so sick and tired of this man, and that's why I'm going to mention it right now, and then I'm not going to talk about him again until the Jets fail to make the playoffs, because I'm so sick and tired of his holier than thou type of mindset where he's always calling out the media. Why are you always talking about me? And then he does a bunch of stuff to warrant being talked about, like smoking ayahuasca and sitting in a darkness retreat saying that, oh, I'm going to have all the answers afterwards, but he has no answers afterwards. And then he gets angry at people when it's like, I never said that. And then he comes out and says that literally the next day or the next sentence sometimes. I mean, I'm happy for Pat McAfee making a bunch of money off of him, but I'm so sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers. Are you going or not, man? Are you going or not? Like, just be clear with people. You just like being talked about. You like being in the national spotlight constantly. I'm so sick and tired of him basically leading off things. Also, straight to jail, all talk shows, all sports talk shows. You're leading with Aaron Rodgers. The NCAA tournament's going on. No one gives a crap about Aaron Rodgers right now. We're all watching basketball. My eyes are red and bloodshot from staring at the new quad view for YouTube TV and trying to watch that while watching the Columbus Crew on my MLS at the same time. My eyes can't take a whole lot more screen time, but the talk shows think we all want to hear about Aaron Rodgers. No, tell me when something has actually happened. Otherwise, I don't care. Narratives be darned. Talk about live events that are happening right now. Talk about the World Baseball Classic. Talk about the NCAA tournament. I am done with Aaron Rodgers. You will not hear his name come out of my mouth until the Jets fail to make the playoffs, unless he just decides not to even go.
Wouldn't that be
You could
funny?
also just say no.
Yep.
Nah, I'm
Go ahead,
retired.
Josh. Straight to jail.
Guys, I want every brand to go to jail. At
Is
least
that
the ones who are
okay,
South by.
does that include us though? Are we a brand?
No, we're fine.
Okay.
No, we're a product. We're not a brand. Do we brand? We have merch.
I try.
We buy out an entire. You do, and you do a good job. Johnny, did you, or no, Aaron, you didn't buy out an entire bar for like 12 hours and pay for everyone's like drinks just to host some indie bands who struggle to make ends meet.
Not
It
yet.
was the weirdest thing. Like,
that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
it was cool because I got free drinks all day, but like it was the weirdest feeling to like listen to bands who like will never make money in their lives with their art. Not because it's bad, not because they're bad at it, but like just because that's how it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And like it's this like weird, it was like a weird like talent agency, like, oh, here we're gonna drop like $100,000 today. Like I went to the Doc Martin stage, and Doc Martin's they also bought out a bar for the day. And then like gave every band playing that day free docs. And it was just like there was just a lot of money flowing around, and it was just the weirdest, like it was the weirdest vibe of like all of these indie bands, and then like Porsche just like brought a car.
Josh, I feel like you need to be included in this straight to jail, because you're talking about how these artists will never make it, and you've talked a lot about this concert, but you've never mentioned a single band because you don't want anyone to actually look them up on Spotify and listen to them.
You want me?
Because
to listen to
you don't want that.
No. I made a playlist. I'll give you every band right now. Poison Ruin, Youth Sector, Far Caspian, Snooper, Danielle Ponder. I forget how to pronounce this one, but 9M88. The Chairs.
Wait, I forget how to pronounce this one. Is that a band?
That would actually be that's a band name. I call it.
It's a pretty good band name.
I can just see it now though. Josh just like walks up to these bands and says, "Hi, I have a sports podcast and I don't even watch sports and it has more listens than you. You should be concerned."
You should be concerned. How dare you?
I don't know if that's true or not, by the way, but
Joe M. Baba, Hope, Lime Garden, Sifo, Divino Nino, Theodore. I got all these bands.
That's my favorite one. Theodore.
Agreed.
Actually, you like them. They got a nice Coldplay vibe. They got like a
Oh, there we go.
Coldplay
See,
vibe.
I know what I'm about.
Coldplay. They're from Greece.
I know what I'm about.
You'd love them.
Oh, they're even better.
Yeah. Graham Reynolds. We'll end with that one.
Nice.
Okay.
Little
Very
Graham.
good.
He just Graham was fun. Not straight to jail for him, but he did jazz. And Aaron, we've played jazz.
We have.
We've
jazz
done jazz before.
Yep.
His idea with jazz was playing on the piano that was at the house piano and just banging on all the keys.
That's a choice.
I am not kidding you. That was his piano solo for one of his pieces. He just kind of bangs on all the keys, and then the drummer would hit things, and they called it jazz. And then I clapped too at the end, but I wasn't sure why I was clapping, but
Man,
we all clapped. So not straight to jail for him, but that piano needed retuning after he was done with it.
Ooh, yeah, I could see that. All right.
Yes.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
I guess he'll play jazz in jail for everyone. Is that good? I don't know.
Jazz in jail.
Only if he doesn't enjoy it.
Yeah, you're right. By the way, the Browns found their quarterback. This is breaking news 1 minute ago. I know they're basically paying Deshaun Watson the most money of any quarterback, and I have a lot of words I could say about that. But they found their guy. They're signing Joshua Dobbs. So don't fear, Browns fans. When something inevitably goes wrong with Deshaun Watson, you've got Joshua Dobbs. So congratulations.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett's not there to save you.
No, he is not. He is a Washington Commander now. All right, guys, it's time for our picks of the week. Straight to jail, us for going 0 for 3 on our double-digit seed upsets. Kind of. I did pick Furman over Virginia, but I did not list that as my double-digit seed in picks of the week. I thought Charleston was going to be able to come through, and they got kind of close, but it did not fall into place for the Cougars. It did not fall into place for Oral Roberts. It did not fall into place for what am I missing? Josh, wrong 2-15 matchup. You were correct in saying pick one. It's fun.
15.
Yeah, but unfortunately the wrong one. It was not Vermont.
Pick the right one.
I do not owe you a Catamounts t-shirt, although I'm honestly a little bit sad about that because that would have been awesome.
Yeah, would have been fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so that means our scoreboard has stayed the exact same with myself with 58 points, Johnny with 51, Josh with 50. So, as we mentioned, the East is just absolutely chaotic. So the question is, which team is going to win the East region? A reminder, Kansas State, Florida Atlantic, Michigan State, Tennessee are your teams remaining. I'm going with the Wildcats. Johnny, I was watching their game and I'm like, this is just 5 Johnnies running around with some of the shots they take. Like they go absolutely dead cold for like 30 minutes. And then somehow someone just flipped a switch and suddenly the whole roster could make a step back 3. It was unbelievable. It was like watching you play basketball. I almost texted you, but I think I was watching like 5 minutes behind, so I didn't want to get it spoiled. But anyways, for that reason, the 5 Johnnies out there, I'm picking Kansas State.
I'm going Tennessee, because here I'll tell you why. Here we go.
Because they're the only mascot with a gun in the region. Is that why?
With a gun.
Wow.
No, I'm thinking because I'm wondering if the collective. Here's why. Actually, I'm picking Tennessee only because I think the collective hatred of FAU right now. No, I don't think they did something. It was dumb, but I don't think it was like the worst thing I've seen in sports.
Yeah.
I've seen much worse in sports. Not smart. Don't do it. But they handled it exactly like you would expect it to. That doesn't change perception though, and now it is very much the world against FAU. And that's a big weight to overcome. Now, is Tennessee going to lead for the first like 3/4 of the game and then like 100% like not score in the final 9 minutes? Of course they are. I'm going to pick them anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
I feel like that's been almost every game of the tournament I've watched. One team's winning almost the whole time and then decides to not score 8 minutes straight to let the other team come back into it. And then it's a toss up.
They got to remember, in the bucket. In it.
Yes.
Through.
Tom Izzo is really hard to bet against, even as a 7 seed. But I'm with Aaron. I'm going with Kansas State. I love Jerome Tang. I love that guy. He seems like an outstanding coach, great guy. First year at Kansas State. I mean, there's some articles talking about how he didn't have more than 5 guys on his roster, and it was like August, which I just absolutely, I don't know. That's just unreal, unbelievable how this team's come together. They've had some massive wins in the Big 12 this year. They deserve that 3 seed, despite some people saying that they didn't. They're the highest seed left. That's not why I'm picking them. But what Aaron said, they got shot makers. They're not reliant on one guy, but that Noel can take over a game if need be. They can they can shoot the lights out of a gym. So I'm going with Kansas State just because I believe great offense beats great defense. I think they probably are playing Tennessee in that East Region final.
Yep.
And Tennessee, while they were just completely outstanding against Duke, that was Tennessee at their absolute apex. And you don't really see that happen multiple games in the tournament. So it was great for them to use that against Duke, but they're not going to have guys shooting 9 of 11 from the floor and just having the officials really letting go what probably could have been at least one flagrant foul on their center, on Filipowski. So, I mean, he hit him with his elbow in the face like 3 times. At a certain point, isn't it like the 3rd time? All right, now it's a flagrant, even if that one wasn't, just with the buildup, because you can't keep hitting a guy in the head with your elbow. Like, I don't care what you're doing. So I'm going to go with Kansas State, believe in the Wildcats. At this point, the East region's my only region where my team is gone already. So that'll fill in the gap there for me.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Somehow, congrats to Michigan State or Florida Atlantic, because we know how picks of the week go here. If we all are close to something, it means we're all
good. We're
wrong.
historically so good with basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron, you're good. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, you've been okay with basketball.
Yeah, for now. I mean, I'll take my 99.2%. I'll pat myself on the back, and then I'll watch as the Sweet 16 rips my bracket apart. But enjoying it now. I'm enjoying first place. Look, I'm happy to win the golden bracket again. You guys, I told you at the beginning, don't let me win it, and here I am. First 2 rounds, I'm in first place. I told you guys to be better than me, but I'm sure it won't take long. It'll take probably 1 game into the Sweet 16 and Michigan State or somebody that, anyways. All right, guys, it is time for what we're following. I can start, or maybe I should go at the end. I'll start. Yeah, sure. I almost made this straight to jail, but it felt a little wrong to throw one of my fellow co-hosts of the Fifth and Gold podcast, who has given his time 103 times to record. But I had to bring it up. We lots of tournament stuff going on. But now that we've got a couple of open days, I've had some time to go back to reflect on something that Jonny tweeted on March 2nd. Jonny tweeted his inarguable month rankings, and let me read them out to you. Number 1, September. No disagreements. Number 2, October.
That's good.
Again, agree. Number 3 is July, then June, November, March, May, August, and the last 4 are December, April, January, and February. I don't
see the problem here.
April is third to worst. That's crazy to me.
Yes.
Now, I understand
Yes.
this obviously is kind of more tailored to an Ohio audience, right? Like,
Yeah,
look,
yes,
July,
that
like,
is
I
a
can't
good
imagine.
clarification.
Yes. Like
if you don't live in Ohio, it's not fair.
Right. Like Josh, July probably
Johnny,
sucks in
Johnny,
Texas.
I'm gonna do text criticism on your tweet here. Watch this. Here's my degree.
You can't. That's not what it means. This is based on those.
You said in your tweet the only information we have is that these are inarguable.
That's true.
They are inarguable.
Thus,
the world revolves around Ohio, Josh. You know this.
That's true.
Now I know that. You know I know that. You know I'm trying to spread the joy of Ohio down here, in this hot state. But you gotta mention it in the tweets. Get Twitter.
No,
blue,
I
like
don't think you
everyone
do.
else, edit your tweets.
The bigger problem is just how objectively wrong this list is.
Also,
July at 3 is insane.
I love the summer.
I love the summer. July is like
July at 3? April goes to 3. Throw July down.
Yes,
Wait,
No. April just rains.
You get nostalgia.
Why
over, like,
sometimes it snows.
Like over fireworks.
Everything's wet and damp and muddy, and it's terrible around here. And you only get like the last 2 games of the NCAA tournament. March gets that. So
okay, I get that, but hear me out. Number one, April has enough good days that it's getting you excited for spring, getting you excited for summer. April, yes, you're right, just the tail end of the tournament. But April also has the opening weekend of baseball. April also has the Masters. And maybe you don't care about that, Johnny, but a lot of people do. And July is, if we're talking about sports, if that's your qualification for why April's bad, July outside of like a World Cup year is just baseball. Like that's it.
Well,
unless you count the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, which if you do
3 of the 4 years, it either has the World Cup, the Euro Cup, or the Summer Olympics going on. So there's only 1 year where neither of those 3 things is happening. 2, even though this is a sports podcast, there are more things in the world than just sports.
Yep.
And so I enjoy a good hike or camping opportunity. And that tends to happen in July. I like to go to the pool. I enjoy the 4th of July as a true American and patriot that I am. I enjoy the 4th of July. I enjoy those fireworks. I enjoy playing spike ball and sand volleyball with my friends without worry, really, in Ohio, of even rain occurring. Or if it does, it kind of feels nice. I love July. Now, I also understand that I don't really sunburn, so I can stay outside all day as well. So that's an unfair advantage. I'll grant you that. I will grant you that.
You apparently also don't sweat because July in Ohio is just 100 degrees and 120% humidity. So of all the things you just mentioned,
I feel like
I don't
August
disagree
is
with those
worse
things.
than that.
August is maybe worse, and I have a birthday in August.
Which is why you appropriately rank it as second half.
Yes.
You can.
Well, that's why I put August where I put August, because I always think August is actually worse than July.
Right above August. Throw July right. May is low for you. May is a fantastic month.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. May
I'll hear
and
the
June.
May one. I understand May. I get the May one. That's fair. I get that one.
Johnny, of all the things you listed, the camping, the spike ball, the volleyball, all that, I love that too. It is better in May and June when you're not dying of heat stroke. By the way, I also realized the Summer Olympics are in August.
In May.
The Summer Olympics are in August, so you're up to like half the Julys that don't have anything.
Are they always?
Pretty much.
I thought they were definitely in July as well.
Maybe part of it. It's almost always August, I feel like. Maybe someone can fact check me on that. I'm wrong. But the same thing applies, though. You've got December 4th worst. Outside of sports, December literally has Christmas. This is Christmas, man. I know you hate Christmas. You listen to Christmas music like 2 days before and call it good, but my goodness.
You listen to your church play the carol and go, okay, I've done all my Christmas music.
We never even get a white Christmas around here. Call me bitter.
We literally did last year.
Yeah, and it took it being -20. I'm not about this. The 1 year in like a decade that we get a white Christmas, it's like -20. If I walk outside, I'm gonna get frostbite and have to cut my toes off.
That's
no, thank
Christmas.
you.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, that's Johnny. The Christmas.
If you aren't losing a digit every time you go out to chop firewood for your house because everything else froze.
Yeah.
I wasn't going outside. I was chopping up the furniture inside to What are you talking about?
Like an American, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we could talk about this for forever, and we probably need to stop.
If your
But
pipes haven't
it's
burst, are you
available
truly
on
celebrating
Johnny's
Christmas?
Twitter account if you want to go see it. There was other people that disagreed with me too, so I feel a little bit vindicated that, but like July at 3, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. But
If you want to report it, you have the options of redacting identity.
yes, everyone
harass,
report,
or
block.
with violence.
Yeah, we always tell you guys
there
to follow,
being
like, subscribe. We're telling you the opposite.
Shown misleading info. Mark it for misleading info.
Yeah, get Elon Musk to read this and just ban Johnny Gaunt from the internet.
Oh my gosh. It's okay. You all can be wrong.
Yeah.
Man, this could have been my straight to jail, honestly. So this might be where I just kind of flex and do it again anyway. I got things here. Hold on, what happens? Oh, there's that guy too. Sorry, I have so many things that we could follow. I'll have to. We're gonna save that one. Tell me about. No, we're gonna do this now. We got to do this now, guys. I forgot this was back. My one story was Pepsi back in the 90s. Crazy story. Realized they were doing so bad against Coke. Instead of trying to up their marketing, that's why they ended up buying 3 fast food companies: Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Long John Silver's, I believe. And the reason that you see all those combinations is not just because they're all owned by Pepsi, but because Pepsi's too cheap to actually open up separate restaurants. And that was more just like a straight to jail. Guys, I got to tell you about this crazy umpire. And I'm going to pull it up. This is another Wikipedia thing. Welcome to Chess Heads, where Wikipedia is a sport. I'm going to tell you about Joe West.
Oh,
Joe
no,
West,
no.
the umpire.
No.
Yes, yes.
Nicknamed Cowboy Joe, Country Joe, whoever. He was an ump from 1979 until 2021. Now, he retired.
Thank goodness.
Now,
probably a great guy. Horrible umpire.
He picked.
I don't know. Have you listened to his music? Oh, is that what you're going to talk about, Josh?
No, I did not know about his music. Do I have to do a whole thing where I now find his music?
Yeah, it's
my gosh, he
horrible.
does. Oh no. Oh no.
Future editing Aaron's going to put a little bit of Joe West here.
Sure
if you have kids,
sure it's legal.
Don't have them listen to this because it's horrible.
Oh my gosh.
Just because it's horrible.
He's performed. He's appeared. He's appeared at the Grand Ole Opry.
What?
I mean, a lot of people
as
appeared there.
Yeah, I was going to say, as in he was a customer. He came in
once. He showed up once. He snuck in the back and got kicked out promptly.
He came in to watch and listen, right? That's what we're talking about.
He is one of the generally speaking, he was one of the less well-liked umpires within the realm of umpires. His disapproval rating was roughly 3 times that of his approval rating. Cool. He's an ump. It's the MLB. What are you going to do? He retires. He discovers a new hobby other than writing really bad country songs. He knows how to get on Wikipedia now. And he got real testy. Real testy. When Wikipedia mentions that in 2019, West filed a defamation lawsuit against Paul Lo Duca and Action Network over comments that they made on a podcast. Uh-oh. So first off, Joe West, love the guy, fantastic.
Yeah, your music's amazing, man. Keep it up.
You're really good.
Yeah,
what we did earlier.
You'll make it to the Grand Ole Opry someday to actually play there. We believe in you.
Actually play there. You're gonna play there one day. Hey, he was
on your phone, sitting in the back.
He was. Hey, listen, he was the pallbearer for Boxcar Willie. That's really cool, right? We all loved him.
We definitely all know who that is.
He filed a defamation lawsuit. I believe he lost. Oh no,
Do him and Brett Favre have the same attorney filing these defamation lawsuits?
No, he won. He won about $500,000 in damages
What?
for some reason.
How?
No, this is not even.
How?
Joe loves antique cars, so every time he comes to town, I lend him my '57 Chevy so he can drive it around town, and he opens up the strike zone. Oh, the joke was that Joe West will occasionally, like for favors, widen the strike zone for people. Which I will give him that. That's significant. You can't just say that on a podcast. Of Joe West gave me a better a better batter's box just because I let him drive my car around. However, there was some controversy as to some of the specific facts, and Joe West made a Wikipedia account, and just insisted on editing his own Wikipedia account for hours on end. I could show you the logs. He would spend hours. Hours.
Him and Kevin Durant must be great friends.
Like
great
this is
friends.
oh my gosh, this happened so it literally like didn't happen forever. Like, I mean, this is a random ump like in the MLB. No one edits this Wikipedia page. And then all of a sudden there was some, every few months when he was active in the MLB, his Wikipedia page would get updated every now and then, once or twice a month, during his career to update his stats, balls and strikes and called and all of that. And then in 2022, oh my gosh, for literally, up until 2023, oh my gosh, so many. Literally like dozens upon dozens of edits made by him trying to clear his name on some of this defamation stuff. And all the Wikipedia guys, I mean, Wikipedia has editors. They're going, hey, you can't just make yourself look better and then add source. Trust me, bro. That's not how Wikipedia works.
Mm-hmm.
The absolute worst. Oh my gosh, yeah. He would say things like, you're supposed to be objective and third party when you're doing an encyclopedia. That's
right.
That's how you write good research papers. He would change he would edit his page and go, quote, my changes corrected the lies that were related to the incident with X person.
Man's trying to write a bibliography on Wikipedia.
He's reading the bibliography. Oh my gosh. They literally banned him. They banned him from Wikipedia.
Wow.
Yeah, you know how bad you have to be to get banned from Wikipedia? And you can't call up a head office in New York to review the call. See, I didn't know he made country. Now I need to go back and this is the first time, and a good reason. I need to go back and listen to all of his country music now. That's what I'm doing tonight. Heck, the fact that he's salty on Wikipedia, that he has albums out, just deeply disappoints me.
Oof.
But oh my gosh,
that'll be somehow if this podcast ever makes a collective bet, it'll be that we have to put Joe West music at the beginning of the episode instead of a normal theme song.
Yeah,
I don't know what that would look like, but
oh gosh,
because we have to pay him royalties. So not only do we have to put him on there, we have to basically tell him his music's good. Because hey Joe, we'd love to play
Cowboy
your music.
Joe, 5 extra people listened to your song this week. Here you go. Here's a couple cents.
Here's another penny.
Yep.
West described his music as, quote, 2 chords and the truth. It's simple. It tells a story.
2 chords and the
truth. I think if you're playing exclusively with 2 chords, the story is, hey, I only know how to use 2 chords. That's the story. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Cowboy Joe. Thanks.
Cowboy Joe. Well, what I'm following is actually nice for once.
That's
so
good.
First thing is, I should probably send myself to jail for not going to the NCAA tournament games in Columbus because they were all insanely good this weekend. So I should be thrown in jail for not playing hooky at work and just going to Columbus an hour away to watch all of these games because that's where Purdue and Fairleigh Dickinson played. Well, guess what? So Fairleigh Dickinson's in New Jersey. By the way, you never want to play a really upper seed if you're that's from New Jersey. That's just a terrible idea. But Fairleigh Dickinson doesn't have a pep band, or at least they were not able to travel to Columbus to play for their team. So Dayton's pep band stepped in. So they were amazing. So they helped them out at the first 4. And then they also were playing for them against Purdue and then against Florida Atlantic as well. They went to Party City and bought a bunch of like inflatable and plastic swords because it's a Fairleigh Dickinson's The Knights. And they learned all of their fight song and everything. They said the Fairleigh Dickinson players said that they'd never heard their fight song before these games. So hats off to you, Dayton. That's incredible. I love the like band community there pulling together to support Fairleigh Dickinson, and the fact that they won just had to be insane for those band members to be able to do that. But that's awesome. I mean, really cool. Absolutely love that. That's incredible. Thank you, Dayton. And then also, soccer is going around in the background for everybody else not paying attention. I'll talk about the Premier League here one of these days. Not that any of you care, except for me. But St. Louis is the newest team in the MLS. They're an expansion team this year, right? So they are number 29 in the MLS. Well, they just set a new standard for expansion teams in the MLS. St. Louis is the first team to start their season 4-0 as an expansion team. Whoa. Not only have they not lost, they have not dropped a point. No draws, nothing. Now, it helps when you have teams inexplicably hand you goals by with their defenders passing the ball to your forwards with no one but the goalie in the way. That has happened somehow like 2 or 3 times to St. Louis in like critical moments in second halves of matches. So that's been super fun. They're a great watch though, and it's so fun to see them. I picked them to finish second to last in the West, so that seems pretty incorrect. Even if they drop off, which yes, they will probably drop off here at some point, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that St. Louis is able to make the playoffs, which is an incredible feat for an expansion franchise. Think about the NBA or all the way back to the NFL when they were expanding. For one of these teams in their first year to even just make the playoffs is an absolutely incredible accomplishment. The Golden Knights for Vegas and the NHL are probably the only other team that comes to mind in my lifetime that being like that, which that was, of course, just a few years ago. But before then, that felt impossible. And the NHL kind of, in a weird way, handed the Vegas Knights a lot of help early with a very helpful expansion draft. St. Louis did not get that type of help. Almost all expansion teams have been awful in the MLS starting off, minus Atlanta. Minnesota was terrible their first year. Cincinnati, dreadful their first 3 years as an expansion team. These teams have really, really struggled for the most part. And to see them bounce like this so early, and they have an incredible fan base. St. Louis has lost their NFL franchise. It really feels like they've all kind of like jumped over to the soccer team, and that place is sold out and full. And they have thousands of people on waiting lists for season tickets. So it's so cool to see a city just jump on board and then for them to be so successful right out of the bat. So that's amazing. I know it's March Madness time, but once that ends, guys, we're going to have plenty of MLS every weekend. So check out St. Louis SC if you get a shot. They're doing big things over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're even like going to the Battlehawks, their XFL game, like pretty well. So NFL, hey, maybe if one of the LA teams isn't doing so hot as far as attendance, which there's a good chance they're not. I know they're not going to move one of those teams back to St. Louis, but at some point, if you're looking to expand, St. Louis is a great spot. I'm curious, even like, again, I don't think it's going to happen, but like if the NBA expanded there, like how well would that do? My guess is pretty well, but who knows? But nice. Jonny, thanks for bringing that up. Guys, thanks for recording tonight. Listeners, as always, we want to thank you for supporting this podcast. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys next week. We will have the Final Four set next week. We'll probably even get into a little bit of baseball talk because opening day is less than 2 weeks away. So maybe if nothing else, I'll give you a quick rundown of what's happening in Major League Baseball. Who knows? We'll see what we get ourselves into next week. But for now, again, we want to say thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
I'm listening to Joe West.
Oh, Josh, don't do that.